Friends, hello. It's Kettner. We made it to the other side of the election, and this is my overdue brief explainer video for what is the final of our thesis worksheet writing exercises, the story Madlib. So, and once again, YouTube has changed their interface, so I'm trying yet a different technique of just recording a separate video that I will upload to YouTube. Hopefully it'll work. It should. But yeah, before I get into, and I'll try not to ramble for too long. I know I have a tendency to make these a bit too, it's easy for me to run my mouth. But I just want to say, because I've, at this point, it's Saturday, I've commented on everyone's pages for assignment number 4. And I'm in the middle of writing you your response emails, and the peek behind the curtain, I do that work, but I don't send them until they're all done, so that it's not like anyone feels like they're getting their feedback soon. But everyone should get them by tomorrow night. Sorry if that's slowed down a little bit for me as the semester's gone by, but I do want to say just I think you guys are doing really good as a whole. And I'm super looking forward to, we only have one assignment left to go. And it's been the one that I've talked about the most through the term, sort of saying that we're going to have this one final assignment that's based in revision. I even, send out the PDF a little early, just so you guys can all read through it and hopefully maybe get a sense even from, going, I would encourage you all to look back over your early assignments, really make note of the revisions, the feedback that really struck you, and think about what pages would be the best to revise and bring up again in this final assignment in December. But that's just food for thought right now. Right now, the next assignment in front of you is our final writing assignment, the story Madlib. And this one is, it really is part of a progression, right? All of these story exercises, the focus sentence, from this focus sentence to the XY to the Soren to the Madlib. And there's a clear progression in terms of trying to surmise like the, sort of the opposing forces in the story, and that's more in the focus sentence in terms of like where there's conflict, there's a character doing something, and then there's conflict, what the conflict is, right? And then the XY that's the first one that is beginning to deal with a frame, and I'm going to talk about that more as it pertains to the Madlib. But that's the one that starts to exercise. It's like, I'm doing a story about X, it's important or it's interesting because Y. And that's, I feel like the one that is the biggest challenge for everyone to grapple with. It's having to try to dig up what we think are personal stories that we're so fascinated by, like how do they connect with readers. Now, the Soren, I think, is really fun, but it is very exaggerated, and that one plays with chronology. And this is something that I think is more intuitive for most of us, and especially for cartoonists, because there's a sort of natural suspense. Like Jessica has this example about how using the tools of chronology of like this happens and this happens and this happens, you can create suspense over the most boring shit ever. Like, there's a guy, and he wakes up, and he's lying in bed, and the house is very, very quiet, just unearthly quiet. And so he sits up, and he puts his feet on the floor, and he walks to the door of his bedroom, and again, it's just so quiet. So he walks down the stairs. And now, this is describing, most of our mornings if we happen to have a 2-story home, like whatever, it's so mundane. But using chronology of any of your stories, and all of your stories are more interesting than that shit, right? This happens and this happens and this happens. But that's the tool that chronology is great for. And the idea that you can build suspense around the smallest things. So of course, you should be able to do that around the main beats of your story and the progression. And, even in the Soren, I'm not, I wasn't asking, for every fucking single thing that happens, right? This happens, this happens, this happens. Like, like this, like I got up and then I brushed my teeth and then I, use the main pertinent plot info. But, the Soren does incorporate the idea of a frame a little bit in that, and then it's interesting to every single person walking the earth because blah. And that's even sort of, it's hyperbole, but it maybe even comes across as more intimidating than the frame is presented in the XY. So what the Madlib is sort of doing is it's really taking the tools of chronology, but being a little bit more explicit in terms of the frame. And again, when we talk about a frame, it's not like a framing device in a story, like a bookend thing. It has to do with it's the Y of the XY, and that has to do with connecting to the reader. And maybe this will resonate because if you've this isn't probably true of all of your stories, but I know that for some folks' feedback, even on the last assignment, I've asked for things particularly in dialogue to make about things that are specific, right? Be like, oh hey, like can you bring something out that brings more of a specific flair? Like don't have the dialogue reiterate the visuals. Like give me something, right? And because sometimes if dialogue is too general, like it's sort of like, okay, like well I picked that up, so like you don't feel like you're getting anything. And the sort of challenge is like we want to be interested in the specific details, but we want those specific details to be able, for the reader to be able to connect those specifics about a story that might be pretty different, but they might be able to connect it to something in their life, or it can become something relatable. So a struggle that's entirely unique or entirely your own as you're presenting them in your narratives will break through that barrier and connect with readers. Like that's the hope and that's the aim of a good frame. And so that's what this Madlib is really trying to address. Jessica also calls it the story matrix. But just like, and really she's taking from the best of both worlds of all of the exercises and really trying to put them together, the things that work about each of those individual exercises and combine them. And so it's a fill in the blank, right? Someone is motivated to do this thing he's doing because of this. And of course, I was just looking at Jackie's work. So Jackie is motivated to meet Markov because she's fascinated by his ideas and finds him attractive. Obviously, Jackie's going to be able to fill that info in better. But then this happens, and so he has to do this, right? So it's sort of taking the focus sentence and then beginning to add bits of the Soren, adding chronology of specific events to create suspense. And therefore this, which leads to this, and then finally, you wouldn't believe it, but this. So again, and again, you can look back to your focus sentence to see how you began to frame those ideas. You could look back to some of my early responses to those other exercises. And if I was, if I had any feedback that resonated about those earlier assignments, this is a place to begin putting those if you wanted to do a revision, you could be like, oh, you know what? Like the focus sentence might be able to use this, and I can apply it in this Madlib. Then this happens. Then this happens. Finally, wouldn't believe it, but this. And then the frame comes in, and this is from the XY. And the reason this matters to everyone walking the face of the earth is this. Yeah, so that's the sort of basics. There was another bit that I wanted to impart that I thought was really interesting. There was just this little quote in this essay. And pardon me, I'm sorry because I'm scrolling. The moment you know you have a story is the moment when you realize it's not the story you thought it was. And I think a lot of us have maybe had a moment like this in our own writing where like even for a creator, like something you'd be like, oh, like maybe things like click together in a different way. Like, oh, I was set out to write about this experience, but really it's also talking about this other thing. And sometimes that can be the element that is that bigger connector piece to a larger audience. And so, yeah, this is like a little bit of a Frankenstein monster, as all Madlibs are. And again, I'm probably showing my age even with my knowledge of Madlibs, but I'm sure some of you have been on family car trips where the only thing to do was, do Madlibs and shit like that. Anyway, I hope that was helpful. I know that wasn't, the most illuminating, but that's sort of the basics of this, and really I know that some of you probably hate these exercises and they're a pain in the butt and you don't think they're helping you. And I know I've heard back from some of you that they're very helpful. And I can only hope that, by the end of this, that those of you who struggle with them a little bit more or, don't see the point, like maybe are getting a little something out of like digging into your work in this sort of macro meta way when you're not just sort of like doing the really hard stuff in terms of like turning out pages. Anyway, that's my video. I got it in under 15 minutes, so that was my goal. That's it. I'm gonna get back to writing your response emails. As always, please feel free to shoot me a line if you have any other questions or comments. I'm gonna get this sucker uploaded, and yeah, I'm super looking forward to your final. I hope you guys are too. I hope you're excited to, do some near finished pages. And it definitely seems like everyone's enjoying Mural. Is everyone enjoying Mural as much as me? It's so much better. Oh my gosh. Anyway, that's it. You're doing great. Keep doing great. I'll talk to you soon.